Inside the Fox 59 CBS4 podcast studio, welcome to the Colts Blue Zone Podcast. Good day. I'm Dave Griffiths. Joining me, Matt Adams, Mike Chappell, and it is roster cutdown week in the NFL. Chap, we were just out of practice, and it looked like a sparse football field at Colts headquarters. That first day, you cut down from 90 to 53. You don't have the practice squad guys in yet. Like, you could tell that a big change has happened over at Colts headquarters as they take just the next step toward getting ready for the season.
Yeah, they get the two practice fields, and there was a lot of room, empty space. But you're talking 37 people are gone. They'll add, I think, practice squads 16, 17 for international, and they'll have that tomorrow when we're out there. So, yeah, and it is something you do notice. And the locker rooms always had the temporary lockers for guys, which I always hated it for guys.
Right.
Temporary means temporary.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, it's always tough. And what people say, yeah, it is. This is their job. This is what they're trying to do. And I've always said, and I mean it, that the cruelest day is really today, because one or two of these guys that were on the bubble, they made the roster, and they probably called mom and said, "Hey, mom, we made it," and then they'll call back and say, "Well, they found somebody," like they claimed Chad Muma, linebacker, off waivers from Jacksonville. Well, somebody's got to go.
Exactly.
So, but that's life in the NFL. These guys know it when they signed up for it, but still a tough time.
Yeah, a couple of players that should be very familiar to Colts fans from the past couple of years. Seeing the door, see you later. We just got the chance to sit down literally minutes ago before we came in here to this podcast with Chris Ballard, along with the rest of the Colts media. So we should start there, Chap, where what Chris had to say. With what Chris had to say, we'll get into some of the extraneous cuts and specifics and waves and all that later. But Chris Ballard sat down in front of the Colts media today, as he always does this time of year, the week of roster cuts, kind of giving his own update on the team. And it was a very one-sided, one-way focused press conference.
What was it, like 22 minutes, 25 minutes?
Something like that, in that range.
The first 15
yes,
were
at least.
Well, because I thought I made a little note, because he said, we've got 51 other guys. Anybody got any questions on those people?
Well,
really not, really.
The other two guys, of course, Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones, and really it was focused on Anthony Richardson and his future with the Indianapolis Colts. Chris Ballard maintaining he still believes in Anthony Richardson.
We're not going to trade him.
We're not going to trade. He said, "We are not trading Anthony."
Correct.
Is what he said. That was an emphatic.
I asked you if after they made the decision to go with Jones, has anyone called, or I don't know if I said, "Did you call?" But he said, "We're not trading Anthony Richardson."
Right, but he is going to be on the team. He's going to be number 2. He said that there could be you can learn a lot being behind a true professional, but you could ask yourself then.
I don't believe that.
You could also ask yourself then, well, why didn't you do it a couple years ago?
Right.
If that's what you believe,
Right.
why didn't you sit in behind Gardner Minshew for a little while and have him learn that way? So
and they've said maybe that's what they should have done. Not maybe, but they've said that's what they should have done.
Mm-hmm.
But in year 3, I always downplay mental reps, and coaches talk big about mental reps. I just think you learn by playing. I go back to Peyton Manning in '98. They decided you're playing, you're going to take your lumps, and that's where Jones. That's where Richardson would get better, but that's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm. One quote from Ballard near the beginning talking about Anthony. His first reaction was, I believe it was you asked him, Chap, of course, the question about Anthony Richardson off the bat. And Ballard said that he hasn't personally had many talks with Anthony recently.
Not that deep sit down that I thought he would have had.
He's had more talks with his agent. So that hasn't come from Ballard. He says the coaches have more of those talks. So that would have come from Shane Steichen,
Right.
Jim Bob Cooter, Cam Turner, all those guys that are supposed to be kind of the brain trust around the quarterback room. At the end of the day, Ballard says Daniel won the job. Does that mean we're down on Anthony? No, but I don't want to dismiss that Daniel had a good run here. And we talked about this a little bit last week. Was Daniel Richardson fine in camp? Yes. Could you say, just by seeing what we saw, that he obviously won the job? No, I don't believe that's the case. Richardson was at least close, if not on the same level. So when Chris Ballard says, I don't want to dismiss that Daniel had a good run here, it's a little disingenuous, I believe, to say that because of what we saw. But it also goes to some things that Shane Steichen outlined as to why he won the job as more the some more behind the scenes reasons and getting the team in the right position pre-snap. It's not necessarily
quarterback better.
Exactly. It's not just the snap to whistle. It's everything that leads up to the snap so that you know what to happen when that happens.
And again, you go back to when they start weighing things with AR not picking up the blitz, I just think that resonated with the coaching staff as, oh my gosh, we're in year 3 and this guy lets that happen to him. They're going to stress, and they have stressed this was an open competition. Okay. And I thought if it was an open competition that Jones would have to knock out, the incumbent. And I don't think he did. But this is, they just have to believe that Jones gives this roster the better chance to win consistently, as opposed to the highs and lows that you're going to get with Richardson, because that's who he is.
It's a weird position, Matt, I think, to put the Colts in and the quarterbacks in that Chris Ballard is intentionally doing right now, because, I mean, if you believe, as you just said, Chap, that it's a good enough roster to compete, and that Daniel Jones elevates them as much. Like, if they're a playoff team finally under Daniel Jones, how do you turn to Anthony Richardson in the next year? Like, how is that even a thing that you would even think of in his final year of his contract? There's no avenue, if Daniel Jones succeeds, for Richardson to take a step forward with this team right now in the next year, which is the final year of his rookie contract, assuming they don't pick up year 5.
Yeah, it's such an awkward position that they've kind of put themselves in, and for exactly that reason, because if you're not going to start him this year, then you're going to have the conversation soon of 5th-year option, which would you pick that up on a guy?
That's off the table, isn't it?
I think right now.
And then even if they did that, then you would be talking about a multi-million-dollar contract extension for the kid. And I know that he was very steadfast, and we believe in Anthony. We still believe he's got a future here. Everybody learns at a different speed, which is very true. But it just, like I said, just an awkward position to put him in. And again, from a Colts roster standpoint, haven't we been a quarterback away since 2019? It was going to be Phillip Rivers and Matt Ryan and Carson Wentz, and we've gone over and over and over this again. Is this roster good enough with just a guy at quarterback? Because that's what they've got right now.
They had a guy with Minshew,
right? And he almost got him there, right? But did they get there?
No.
I'm just trying to imagine the way forward here, Chap. Maybe you can help me a little bit more, like thinking along the lines that we tried to just go through. But like, if the Colts roster is good enough with Daniel Jones to make the playoffs, maybe great. And so I guess Daniel Jones is the guy next year too. At that point,
maybe you give him a 2-year contract.
If the Colts roster is not good enough with Daniel Jones, then why is it good enough with Anthony Richardson, who isn't as good as Daniel Jones? Like, you have to try to sell. If that's the avenue you go down with Chris Ballard, you have to sell that Anthony is improved by leaps and bounds next year. It is
without playing
exactly. And so I'm trying to imagine how they can say that Anthony Richardson has a future along this avenue, and I'm finding it very difficult to get there.
I have a hard time seeing a path forward,
right,
with the primary people. I just don't. I have a hard time. And again, if Shane Steichen had a better quarterback the last 2 years, a more consistent quarterback the last 2 years, they probably would have made the playoffs at least once. But he hasn't. And the inability to get the quarterback has been on Chris Ballard and his personnel staff. It just has. That's their job. It hasn't worked to this point. And again, keep in mind that Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen were on board Anthony Richardson. They were. This isn't like, man, I can't believe you wanted that guy. Well, I thought you wanted this guy. No. They were both on board with it. I don't see a path forward. Best case for the team this year is Jones stays healthy. They go 10-7 and find a wild card in a very good AFC conference. In worse, but that's almost the worst case too, because then are you going to give Jones you're not there's no future then for Richardson, I don't think. But then you're going to give Daniel Jones 2 years and $80 million. I don't know.
And I guess what I will say, and the only previous example that I can think of like this is one that Chris Ballard actually brought up today, and that is the Alex Smith comparison in Kansas City. Right.
That's a good comparison.
So Alex Smith in Kansas City led that Chiefs team. Was it a playoffs? They made the playoffs, I thought, with him. Yeah, it was a wild card.
Number one overall pick.
Yeah, Colts
beat him. Number one overall pick. Yes, he was. And then they turned to Patrick Mahomes after that. They said that Alex Smith has taken us as far as he can. Now it's Patrick Mahomes' turn. But the difference, of course, with Mahomes was he hadn't played yet, and he hadn't had the history that we've seen with Anthony Richardson. So that's the major difference in these two comparisons. But that is at least the most similar one that comes immediately to mind, with a team that takes one veteran retread, quote unquote, quarterback to the playoffs, to, they say, the maximum level that he can possibly take them, and then turn to a younger guy with essentially the same roster.
I was looking here again. First overall pick in 2005, Alex Smith made his first start. I was out there against the Colts.
Oh yeah,
in Frisco.
Yeah,
he goes 2-5, 7-9, 2-5 as a starter. He must have been hurt that year. In 2008, he doesn't play, but then he comes back in 2011. They go 13-3.
Right.
So he did get his act together in the second part of his career with the Niners. And then I'm sure they just thought, well, then Garoppolo came, or not Garoppolo, but Kaepernick came in, I believe it was.
With the Niners.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but again, that's a good comparison. And it was brought up a couple of times about why, what's it going to take to really believe in you guys, and it's time. And Ballard's right. It's time and wins, success. This will all be judged on whether they win or not. But if they win with Jones, it means you missed on Richardson. So how do you weigh that when you're looking to go forward? I don't know. They've put themselves in a very, very awkward position. The only way that it seemed like it works for them, for the people who brought Richardson here, is that Jones comes out, plays poorly, or gets hurt right away. Richardson comes in and he starts 14 games.
Gangbusters.
And he's comeback player of the year and fourth in MVP voting. So it's a very awkward situation, and it's going to be interesting to see how this thing unfolds.
Yeah, Ballard did get to the point where he did get maybe a touch snarky, and you mentioned it earlier, saying we do have 51 other guys on the roster, and from his perspective, he puts a ton of time into getting those 50 or 50 other guys.
We just went through a really hard process to cut the roster down.
Every position matters. Like, those last guys on the roster matter. Just ask Zaire Franklin. Just ask Kenny Moore, who didn't make it in New England, but then came here. It really truly matters to get the full 53 correct. So
you don't have a lot of weak links.
Right, and Chris does that. Then he steps up to the microphone, and all that we can talk about, and he recognizes, understandably so, is Anthony Richardson.
And again, we can go back and look, 15, 16 minutes, and there's only so many ways you can ask the questions about Richardson, because at some point after the first 4 or 5, he said, well, let's not dismiss Daniel Jones.
Right.
Because this was so much it was about the 4th overall pick in the draft. And again, this isn't going to stop. The first time that Jones struggles, whether it's week 1, week 3, it's going to be, did you think about putting Richardson in? And I'm guessing the answer will be no.
Got to be no. It has to be no.
Because he went out of his way. Shane Steichen went out of his way. He's our starter for the season. And somebody asked about, will there be a short leash? And he said, no, it's a long leash. Well, those leashes shrink when you're not playing well.
Right.
And we were talking in the press room today, and I still believe this, that they believe this is a playoff roster. I believe it as well. It depends on the quarterback. If the quarterback plays well, the schedule is conducive to getting off to a good start. 6-2 if you want to be really, really bullish. 5-3, with Miami coming in. And I know Denver. And I can't get out of my head that if JT doesn't drop that football, they beat Denver in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got Tennessee on the road. So and you got Tennessee coming up at home.
Right, they play Tennessee twice pretty early.
So it's there if you play well. But if they don't, this season can spiral really quickly, really poorly.
You're disrespecting the Titans there, chap. My goodness, you're one of your conference, your division rivals.
Somebody picked him as their surprise team to win the division.
It all depends on Cam Ward, man. Like if he comes out and he's impressive, if he's even a touch of what C.J. Stroud was a couple of years ago, then obviously it immediately things change about their expectations.
See, one of my colleagues is from Texas, so he's a Texans fan.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's perfect, but he sent me that clip, and we were just like, our heads exploded. And he's like, "This has put me in the space where I agree with Stephen A. Smith."
What a terrible place to be in.
Exactly.
Yes, but we'll know more about the Titans probably right around the time that they're playing the Colts.
Absolutely.
Honestly, like you get 3 weeks into the season, and then you're starting to develop into really who you are and being able to show people consistently who you are. So, so that's going to be probably a watershed moment in the Titans season, that first game. And it's on the road. It's in Tennessee, so they get it at home. So that's going to be a big game for them.
They probably get that circle on their calendar like the Colts should on their calendar.
Absolutely. For both of them, it's their first division game.
Right.
So it's got to be important for both of them. If we do broaden our scope a little bit to talk a bit more than just quarterback, Chris Ballard was asked where he thinks the strength of this Colts 53-man roster is, and he mentioned the trenches, which if you know Chris Ballard at all, you know that's going to be it. Exactly. It's going to be in the trenches.
He said that'll be on his headstone.
Uh-huh.
Offensive line, defensive line.
Right. And this team is built with that in mind, and you can see it with 9 players on the offensive line on this roster, 11 players on the defensive line. He has never, I look back, I keep my notes from year to year about the depth chart coming out of camp. Chris Ballard has never kept 6. He's never kept 6 defensive tackles. He did it this year. 5 has been the cap before.
Right.
Before it's been like 5 defensive tackles, 5 edge rushers. But this year he went 11 between them, and he went 6 defensive tackles. He really wants to be strong in the middle. And this is also perhaps due to Lou Anarumo coming in as well. You can't put that past what they're doing here, that they're shoring up the middle of that defense a little bit, especially when they only are bringing in 4 linebackers, which will be 5 after they bring in the linebacker from Jacksonville they claim. But that's one thing that I saw immediately, that they're really shoring up the trenches, in particular the middle on the defensive line was a little bit different.
They've got to find a backup for Grover.
Exactly. They didn't have that last year. Right. So Chap, when you look at this team, it's certainly in the trenches, even though there's probably some questions like backup for Grover. How well is Matt Gonzalez going to play at right guard, since he played all the way into preseason game number 3? Like it's not no questions, but Chris points to these 2 areas as what he believes are strengths.
I still have concerns with the offensive line. Mm-hmm. I just do. Again, they're asking Bortolini and Gonzalez to be full timers after combining. I think it was 13 starts last year. I think they're going to miss Ryan Kelly and Will Fries. I do. And backup swing tackle, it's Jalen Travis, who's played as many games in the NFL as I have. And I was sort of surprised how Chris Ballard went on about him, how he's further along than what they anticipated, and a lot better athlete they anticipated. But he's a rookie. I kind of think that there still might be an offensive tackle to bring in, but they're so hard to find. Offensive,
and there've been a lot of transactions and stuff to get some of those guys who would be, that you would like to have as your swing tackle.
The only possibility, if they really get concerned in the next week or 2, is to find a guard and let Gonzalez be your swing tackle, because that's his position. But then you're messing with you're weakening right guard, and so I just need to see him play. I like Bernie. I certainly like Quentin, and Braden Smith has played near Pro Bowl level when he stayed healthy. Those 2 spots in the middle in the backup tackle give me pause.
Yeah, the other position that Ballard pointed out that he likes is his wide receiver room, and he said he had to make some cuts there that he didn't like getting rid of Laquan Treadwell, who he loves. He went on about Laquan Treadwell too.
He'll be back on the practice squad probably.
Yeah, unless he's claimed somewhere else, but I don't think he was.
He wasn't,
at least not that I saw. Yeah, so Treadwell will likely be back in the building himself. But with wide receiver, I mean, I've said this before, and I always bring it up, and we talk about it too, Chap, that I always point out to the lack of the dominant guy. And you can have good wide receiver rooms across the NFL, but if you don't have that dominant guy, it still does, in my opinion, it still puts you at a significant disadvantage, especially when you don't have the quarterback. You can be the Chiefs and have a bunch of, you think, solid wide receivers that are good at their jobs, specifically what they do, And Patrick Mahomes is going to be the man and get it to
He
them.
elevates them.
And it helps that he has Travis Kelce, perhaps the best tight end of the past decade in the NFL, too, outside of Rob Gronkowski.
Well, again, with the receiver room, you almost have to include Tyler Warren in there.
I think you should. But again, Tyler Warren has also played the same number of NFL games as you have. I think that he is maybe perhaps a little bit better under better consideration than Jalen Travis, but you don't know yet exactly what you're going to get out of him.
And again, that's the problem. And we've gone on and on about this. We all would like to have that guy at receiver.
Right.
And there's probably 8 of them in the league, and they're hard to get.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how realistic has been in the last couple of years to go out and get that guy. Who were we talking about earlier? Was it T. Higgins?
Yep.
Which
start of off season.
Don't know if that was ever really realistic. But keep in mind, they made a push for Malik Neighbors.
They did.
So they know too if you can get that guy.
Right.
This is I've been going back and forth with Reggie Wayne about this. I think this is their best receivers room since I think I listed 2010, where Reggie and Pierre Garçon and Austin Coley and then I think Blair White.
Yeah,
pretty good room.
Yeah.
After that, it's just and he said, well, maybe we got that good a room because I'm coaching them. And there's some truth to that. But it's a very good group, and the guy that Ballard seems most high on is Josh Downs.
He does really
he
like
thinks
Downs
this
a lot.
Kid's got a chance to really be something.
He's got to stay healthy too. But yes,
right. So, but it's a good group, and they're going to bring probably 3 of these guys they cut back on the practice squad.
Right.
And these guys are very good about maximizing practice squad moves and bringing guys up and sending them down. So, but yeah, I like the receiver room.
Yeah.
I like the cornerback room sort of. It's the biggest change in rooms. I don't think Lou Anarumo liked the cornerback room when he got here.
You
Didn't feel like it.
Actions speak louder than
That's
words.
Right. That's right. So, and again, at practice today, they had 2 running backs.
They did.
They had JT and DJ Goodens because
Tyler Goodson.
He was running on the end with a sleeve on his
really big sleeve.
It was his left elbow, I believe.
Excuse me.
So rub that one. But I think they bring Khalil Herbert back for the practice squad. But gosh, he's missed a couple weeks with an ankle. So, but they need a third running back. I think if it's Tyler Goodson, fine. But they're gonna ride JT a long way.
You've got to.
So, but it's got some strong areas. It's got a couple areas like any team.
Yeah,
have areas you're saying, man, I don't know about that. But we're always going to default back to the position that really matters, and that's what happened at the press conference today.
Yep. Now, I've been trying to think of I'm half apologize to keep talking wide receiver, but I still do believe it's important. Like I'm trying to think of like best top good wide receiver rooms across the NFL that don't have like the stud. I think Seattle was a good example for a while with Tyler Lockett and Doug Baldwin.
Detroit,
with those are really good. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is a really freaking good player. Like I would take him in a heartbeat.
But he's not in that group with Justin Jefferson and Jamar. I think he's on that notch right below him.
I think he's a notch above what Michael Pittman Jr. is now.
I don't
for sure.
With that.
Yeah. And I think maybe on the same level, like maybe on the top end of the T. Higgins tier, like maybe not the Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, AJ Brown. What other players would be on in that tier? In the top, maybe Mike Evans with all the every year 10+ touchdowns. How old is Mike Evans now? Like 36? Not that old, but he's probably
he's had 1,000 yards
exactly.
every season.
1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns. It's like clockwork. Yeah, Puka Nacua in 5th round pick. Puka Nacua there in I was about to say St. Louis. Oh my goodness, in L.A.
Evans will be is 32.
Evans is 32.
He turned 32 just a few days ago.
It just seems like he's like 36 because he's been doing this year after year after year. Like he's got to be that old by now. No, exactly. He's still 32, which is old man years in the NFL.
I think
for wide receiver,
Reggie had, was it 12 or 1,300 yards when he was 34?
Yeah.
Which is an aberration. It just is.
That might have been the best wide receiver Colts room that since then with him, with T.Y. in those early Andrew Luck years.
I don't know who the third guy was. It wasn't Zach Pascal, was it?
Was Dante Moncrief on the roster then?
Yes, Moncrief, yes.
So maybe him as a number 3 is better than trying to make him anything better than that.
That's a good point.
Yeah. And then you also had some good tight ends there, Kobe Fleener, Dwayne Allen, who you can try to include
Jack
in that.
Doyle.
Yep, and of course the one and only Fighting Jack Doyle.
St. Jack.
That's right. Who was back at training camp for one day this year, and I'll say that's one more thing Chris Ballard said that I loved is like as he's stepping up to go out, like he answers one or two or three more questions just as we go, but said that he was a little emotional letting Jelani Woods go. Based on everything that he's been through the past couple years, which you understand with all the awful hamstring issues he's had, but it evolved into a tight end discussion. You talked about Mo Alley Cox.
I said, it seems like you guys are always trying to replace Mo.
And he said, no, I'm not. He said he loves Mo.
Well, you keep drafting guys in the second and third round.
Exactly. You keep drafting tight ends. You want to do something in that room.
Mo Alley Cox is a great example of a player understanding his role.
Yes.
And I'm sure he still wants to be more involved in the passing game. And we talked to him about this a couple of years ago, but I think he really understands his role, and it's not an easy role. It's not. You're almost an offensive tackle,
right? Who's
going to catch 10 balls? I don't know, but you've got to have those guys. That allows you to have a Tyler Warren and a Will Mallory and even an Ogletree, because that's not really what they do. Let's not ask Tyler Warren to block a defensive end, okay? That's what Mo's there for. So, but it's funny how Chris has got a handful of players that he really, really likes. I've gone back and forth with him on Daniel Scott. He really likes what Daniel Scott brings, and he's had the last 2 years with injuries. So, but his eyes really lit up with Mo.
Yeah, for sure. And so Mo's going to get his opportunities for sure. And we just hope that we can get one or two shots of him gallivanting like an antelope 30 yards downfield with the ball and looking for a strong safety to run over.
An antelope or like a bison.
Exactly. One or the other, whatever causes the most damage there. You're watching the Colts Blue Zone Podcast on Fox 59 now. Let's get into a couple specific players that the Colts have decided to let go. And we will continue with Jelani Woods. We might as well start with him since we just kind of ended with the tight end discussion. But Jelani Woods, a 2023 draft pick, played a little bit in that first year.
25 catches, I think it was. He had a pretty decent year.
Yeah,
in 2022, excuse me.
Yeah, 320-some yards, three
or 4 touchdowns, right.
Yeah.
And as I noted in here, and there's kind of a roll of pictures going here, and it'll cycle back, but he had 2 touchdowns when they beat the Kansas City Chiefs in that cursed season.
The one game that we choose to remember from 2022.
Right. He had the first score of that game and the last score that game.
Those are the important scores right
they
there.
Are.
No,
they
seriously. But you come on, you show some potential, you're uber athletic, and then your body breaks down for 2 straight years.
Hamstring, turf toe.
And then turf toe.
Yeah.
And people say turf toe. What's the big deal? No, turf toe.
Yeah, you have turf toe.
Yeah,
right.
And then you see what the big deal is. It's not like just chop off your toe. Sometimes you feel like you want to do that when you have turf toe. But Jelani Woods, past 2 seasons, just couldn't get in with the roster at all, and had a respectable training camp.
Right. Yeah, I thought so too. And he had at the end of the Green Bay game, had kind of a disputed. Was it a catch or not a catch type of deal there? And I thought he stood out, but the problem is it's a pretty strong room. When they brought in Tyler Warren, that was probably the end of it for Jelani.
Yeah, it was either Jelani or Drew Ogletree was going to go. Right. And Ogletree's been solid himself.
And he's a little bit more, not quite the Swiss Army knife, but he's got a little bit more blocking capacity to him than Jelani.
I would agree. And Woods, with the injury history, it just makes you gun shy a little bit. And if you're Chris Ballard and you're discussing this with Shane Steichen, you say, "Hey, I'm gonna cut Jelani instead of Drew." Do you have any big objections to that? Right. I don't think you can make a big objection to that decision. But Jelani did land somewhere. He's with the Jets. Is that the case?
Jets claimed off waivers.
Jets
today.
claimed Jelani Woods off waivers, so he's going to get a chance to play there with the Jets and see what he can do. In that avenue. So best of luck to Jelani in that next step of his career. Best of luck to Juju Brents as well. The Colts waived the cornerback who was drafted in 2023, the second round, out of Kansas State. Before that, Warren Central Pride, East Side, spoke many times with Juju about his love for the Indianapolis Colts, growing up as a fan of this team, his favorite player being Bob Sanders, how much he appreciated the opportunity to wear the horseshoe on his helmet to represent the team that he loved so much. And like Jelani Woods and like Anthony Richardson, other uber athletic guys, Juju's body has let him down multiple times over his first couple years.
And it wasn't just one thing. It was like pick a body part.
One, the other. He came in with a wrist.
Yeah,
had wrist surgery after the combine, I believe it was.
He's had hamstrings, soft tissue stuff,
Quadricep,
lower body, quad.
MCL, broken nose.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember the broken nose. That was fun. I got to interview him right after the broken nose. He was like, yeah. But he was happy because they won that game. But like as cool a guy as you would love to have on your team, like as you would love to see succeed on your team, but at the end of the day, if you're Chris Ballard again, and it's just time after time, you keep doing the same thing, getting the same results, you have to do something different. And that turned into waiving him. And he gets picked up by the Miami Dolphins, so he will be here week one.
We'll see him week one
of the NFL season. Depends on, of course, if he's active, but he'll probably be here nevertheless. But Chap, I like it's gutting to me to see Juju get cut just because I was rooting for him to succeed, but I completely understand at the other side of the coin why Chris Ballard made the decision he did with Juju.
Well, the last 4 or 5 times we've talked to Juju, it's about, are you looking forward to finally getting out there and showing what you can do? Because he's coming back from this. We did that last year at the end of the last regular season game when he came back from, I can't remember what he was out for, hamstring, whatever.
Played one snap or one
He played about 6 snaps.
Right,
and then it was a groin or a hamstring. Yep. So sometimes you just need a fresh start. I don't know what a fresh start has to do with injuries like this. I mean, it's your body that's betraying you. But good for him. So now we got, was it just the one local guy, Cam McGrone,
Lawrence Central Pride. That's right. Mm-hmm.
So
one guy,
and I don't think they pay a lot of attention to. Boy, we need to have one local guy on here to help our fan base. But he'll get a chance. He and Jelani Woods, like I say, I'm not surprised in the least that they got claimed.
Yep.
You look at that and you think, man, what's it going to cost us? It's going to cost us nothing. It will get their base salaries from their rookie contracts. So good for them. And the team moves on. The thing that's really interesting, though, is you cut these guys in part because of injuries.
Right.
And you've kept Daniel Scott, who's missed the first 2. He's not played a game yet.
Right.
But it helps Scott's cause, again, that the safety position is so bereft of bodies. So I think there's 4 safeties on the roster.
Right. You probably feel like if Hunter Waller didn't have his injury,
very good point.
Then Daniel Scott's probably not on the final roster there.
Yep. That's incredibly possible. And Chris Ballard did mention Hunter Waller, Justin Wally about their injuries, talking about them being disappointing turns of events because he thinks they're both going to be pretty good players.
Right.
And both of them showed a good amount in training camp.
Wally was going to start.
Yeah, he was 100% going to start.
Yeah, and it really felt like Waller was going to have a significant role in the defense and give them a ton of versatility, whether that's at 6th defensive back or a slash linebacker.
There are 6 corners, right?
6 corners. They signed Mekhi Blackman. That was before all the cuts. So that was
a trade.
That was a trade. Excuse me. Yes, they traded a 6th round pick.
They
traded a pick.
When the injuries, was it probably Wally's injury, or maybe it was Jalen? No, it was Wally's injury. Is when they went out and signed Xavier Howard.
Right.
And then they traded for Blackman.
Yes. Pardon me.
But it's just a different room, and they get rid of Sam Womack, who played every game last year. I think he started 6 or 7, 8.
Yeah, it seemed like a valuable guy back there last season.
Right. So it's a different room, and they need to get Jalen Jones back. They've got Xavier Howard was listed as a starter opposite Mooney Ward. Well, was that because that was 2 days after he got here?
Right.
So is that because they believed that, or everybody else was hurt?
Say they didn't really have any other option at that point, right? He's the only other healthy cornerback.
So we'll see how that goes, and we'll get a really good idea next week when they start practicing. Because tomorrow's about another hour practice, I think.
Right.
So they get 3 days off, and then they hit it Monday, and then they're busy. They hope through January.
That'd be fantastic.
Yep.
There's also a report out there, I believe it was Jordan Schultz who was the first to report that the Colts are planning to work out Mike Hilton, cornerback formerly of the Cincinnati Bengals, who worked plenty with Lou Anarumo.
I thought Ballard sort of downplayed that. The way we're going to do this. We're always going to be looking at players.
Right.
We're going to be bringing players in over the next couple of weeks.
Uh-huh.
So then at 5 o'clock tonight, we'll get it.
Yeah, I think Schultz's report was something to the extent of like there being mutual interest from both sides. But like that could come from the agent, the player agent.
Right,
That's
saying,
always be careful.
Yeah, it's exactly like, oh, there's great interest from both sides. So you got to be careful with reports.
It's
like
one of
that.
those like the Colts have had contact with this guy.
Right.
What did this guy's agent call the Colts? So technically,
there was contact.
Right. And I'm not trying to dismiss Jordan's report, by the way, or him at all. Like 0%.
We'll get a release at 5 o'clock that they sign Hilton.
Right, I know, right? And he'll be like, well, look at that.
Because he's played like in the last 4 years with Anarumo and Cincy, and there's always that comfort level bringing your own guys in. Right. There is.
Well, and how many times have we talked on this podcast about how we would like to see them bring in a veteran guy, and he's been in the league since 2016.
Right.
This was a guy that when he had a good run in Pittsburgh and was a free agent, I thought would have been a good pickup for the Colts. Whatever year that was, 21 or 20, whatever it was,
somewhere in there. Yeah.
And then he went to Cincy, and he's been durable. He's played. The question is, do you want to add a 30-something to your room?
It's like,
after you have Xavier Howard, who is already in there,
right?
You know,
it's like, maybe not. Colts placed Jalen Carlisle, the linebacker, on injured reserve. He will start the season on IR. It means he's going to miss at least 4 weeks, but they did designate him as one of the players that could return from injured reserve. So at that point, after 4 weeks, he could perhaps work his way back onto the roster. He was in line, Chap, for a starting position alongside.
That's where he finished the season.
Exactly, alongside Zaire Franklin. And famously, under Lou Anarumo, as Ballard was talking about today, he's explaining that they really want to just do a Mike and a Will linebacker. It's going to be 2 linebackers. So for now, Joe Bocci is probably going to slide into that role. Cam McGrone could be in there for some work as well. But if Carlisle gets healthy, he's going to have at least the opportunity to come and work into the starting job, unless somebody just takes that and runs with it through the first couple weeks of the season.
Yeah, that again, linebackers, it's such a fluid position, but they've made it clear almost from the start when they got here how they were going to go with fewer backers on the field, and more. I say DBs, more corners, because they've not got a lot of safeties that you really rely on. But I've always wondered if that's because you don't like you're being creative because you want to be creative, or your roster says be creative because of the lack of the bodies. But I think it's going to be really interesting to see how this defense plays under Anarumo, because it has not been together this offseason or this training camp at all. Zaire hasn't played at all, and they've missed. Again, Jalen Jones missed 2 weeks, 3 weeks,
good amount of time. Yeah.
So we'll see. And Kwity Paye missed some time. So the other end, Samson Ebukam. Has been dealing with a back injury. So next week's when it matters. Let's see who's out there next week and see who looks like they might be ready to go.
I'll say this on Carlisle before we move on. Like he's an example again to me of a guy moving up from safety in college to linebacker in the NFL. Like sometimes bodies, when you're adding weight, you're adding muscle mass, like and you're trying to take more of a punishment like you do at linebacker in the NFL, it takes a while to really adjust to that. And the first year, maybe he's downtrodden here by injuries. Being healthy is going to go a long way in whether he can make this change. In my mind, if his body can truly adjust and stay healthy, whether he can make the switch to linebacker in the NFL. So we'll see if he can do that.
I always remember when these transitions. Cato June was a safety at Michigan.
Great example.
I don't remember him when they put him at linebacker adding a lot of weight, because Tony Dungy's defenses were smaller and quicker.
Right.
So maybe that's not a good apples to apples comparison, but this is another player that's had trouble staying healthy, because what was it, his shoulder last year? He had shoulder surgery. But I think they had planned on, again, like you mentioned, they had him slotted to be that second backer.
Yeah. Then he has an ankle problem, and I can't remember if it was in camp or
no. It was the last couple of weeks of camp. He was there with a boot on his ankle.
We'll shift to Coleman Owen, wide receiver, player who's waived out of the final group of players let go. Pretty good preseason himself. Couldn't stick in the wide receiver room, and unsurprisingly, both him and Laquan Treadwell, who we mentioned earlier. I mean, you can only carry so many wide receivers on your roster.
Bring them both back for the practice squad.
I think both Treadwell and Owen are guys that, if they don't get claimed, that they'll end up on the practice squad.
Which they didn't. Mm-hmm. The waiver things were done, so they did not get claimed.
So they didn't get claimed. They will be like game day elevations based on week to week type things.
And by the way, it also tells you something that neither of these guys got claimed. So let's not sound the alarm bells that how could the Colts have let Coleman Owen go?
There was a column that was like that.
Yes, I know, and I know, and that's all I'll say about that. Out of respect for the writer in that column.
Preseason.
Yes,
I thought showed some return stuff, showed some slot work.
Yes,
but you've got Anthony Gould. And you've got Josh Downs; those are superior options at the same position. So it's not rocket science.
And nobody else picked them up or waived them or claimed them on waivers. So
or drafted them.
Or drafted them in the first place.
Yeah, Coleman Owen, free agent out of
Ohio, the Fighting Bobcats.
And this isn't to diminish the player at all.
No.
Again, because I think they bring him back, and I think that if you had to in week 7 go to him for something. I mean, that would mean Anthony Gould's injured as well as a slot guy.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so easy to get fooled into training camp and practice squad.
Yeah.
Deron Carter. Come on.
Oh, yeah.
Lavon Brazil.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
To some degree back in the day. So just Drew Haddad.
Mm-hmm.
So but that's not to me to diminish what these guys have done. Jason Bean probably comes back to the practice squad. You want a fourth quarterback?
I think you usually have one, especially when you have 16, 17 guys on your practice squad. And it's not just 10 like it was.
I thought he threw the ball pretty well.
Yeah.
When he was out there. So, again, you get 16 spots. You're going to have 3 offensive linemen, a couple of running backs, 3 receivers, defensive linemen, corners. And a lot of that has to do from week to week on injuries at a position. Do you need an extra couple of corners to play or whatever? So we'll get those names. They're leaking out. Joel Erickson, who is a fiend as a beat guy, has to be on getting all these. He's got a couple. He's got practice squad. Austin, is it a JK?
AJK.
See, there you go. Sean McKeon, the tight end.
Out of
go ahead,
Syracuse University.
I'm not going there because I first I didn't know that because I don't care.
You gotta know.
Well, one thing, unless it's changed, Josh Fryer.
Yep.
Beach Grove.
Yep. Let's go.
Made the Arizona roster.
Let's go.
So there will be a party in Beach Grove this weekend.
Watch out for Beach Grove.
Safety Trey Washington, offensive tackle Marcellus Johnson, and Darrell Nachimi.
Sure. That one
we'll
I
go
do
with
not
that.
know.
That's the name that, exactly. I haven't heard. So
I was going to
no disrespect. But
I was going to be disrespectful. I will not because this is these guys' jobs.
That's smart. Yes.
Let's move on.
Yeah. Isaiah Land, a player who was waived. I had a really good final game, but here's the deal with Land. He had a really good preseason last year too.
Mm-hmm.
And he also had a really good preseason 2 years ago with the Dallas Cowboys when he was cut. And then the Colts picked him up off either waivers or to the practice squad. So I like Isaiah Land, Florida A&M, Rattlers, strike again. Let's go. But he is also a smallish defensive end. And I don't think Lou Anarumo, this is another thing Joel Erickson and I were discussing, and he was kind of leading the discussion, and I was following, saying, yes, I agree with everything you're saying, to be fair to Joel. It seems like Lou Anarumo likes bigger defensive ends, and that's been the case with Kwity Paye. It was the Trey Hendrickson with the Bengals, their stud guy. He's not a small defensive end.
They got their contract done. Is that a surprise?
Yeah. Well, my goodness, no way. Now the training camp was over. They got him signed. I never would have believed it.
Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, Terry McLaurin. The training camp is over. They got him signed. Oh wow, scary Terry. Cathedral Pride. Let's go. But anyway, Isaiah Land. Never worked with the 2s in training camp. He was a 3s, period.
I had him on my 53 because I didn't like the tackles. I liked him as a sixth defensive end as opposed to the.
You didn't want to take both Tim Smith and Eric Johnson.
No, so
yeah. Oh, okay. Defensive tackles.
But this is a guy again that has been productive in preseason, but. I go back to Cesar Rayford, whatever year was, he led the NFL in preseason sacks, and the Colts traded him to Dallas and got a draft pick for him.
Yep. So So he's gone. Wesley French. The Colts had re-signed French in March, a backup center. He played 17 games over the past couple years. Of course, famous with Will Fries being the French Fries combination in the center of the offensive line. But since Will was gone, alas, we didn't have that anchor to keep him here.
It was just French.
Anymore.
And now we have neither.
And we had no toast.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah. But I'll also say, funny, Matt, I'll say that when the Colts put Dalton Tucker at center in preseason game number 3,
that told you something.
The writing was a little bit on the wall here for French that they weren't going to keep him because they do like to have 3 guys who can snap the ball. And that would be, of course, Tanner Bortolini, Danny Pinter, and Dalton Tucker.
And Danny Pinter's dealing with a knee.
He is.
That Chris Ballard said they've got it under control. You have it under control until you don't.
Yeah, right. And you know what that means, under control? It means it's not 100%.
Right.
In the NFL, when you say, it's under control, that probably means he's kind of struggling through it, but he's being being a good soldier.
And if you're not going to be a starter interior, you've got to be able to play all 3 positions.
You do. You absolutely do. 9 offensive linemen, 11 defensive linemen, 3 running backs, 4 linebackers. And you mentioned Daniel Scott getting a safety spot after Hunter Waller's injury. Chap, anything else that you think big picture from this 53-man Colts roster that will change a little bit that we haven't touched on yet? Maybe we should touch on the linebacker. They did claim off waivers Chad Muma from Jacksonville. Not surprising they would get a linebacker after only carrying 4, I guess, through training camp. This was one thing that was widely suspected they would get a linebacker. So Chad Muma's the guy.
And I looked at him during Ballard's press conference, and he's like 6'3", 239. Is it 50 games and 7 starts for Jacksonville? They were gonna get a linebacker.
Yep.
And it's funny, I think someone asked him, how many guys did you put in a claim for? And I thought he said nobody else.
He said nobody else. That was Kevin Bowen.
Right.
Like we were talking about it, and then Kevin snuck in. Did you claim anyone else? And Ballard said, no. Good try. So,
Good try.
And that was kind of funny, too, because I wasn't at it, but I was watching the news conference. And obviously, Ballard knew that they'd put in the claim because he put in the claim on him. But they had not heard yet whether or not the claim had come through. So the reporters got to break a little news to Chris Ballard at the press conference. He was like, really? We did?
Yeah, we let him know.
It's kind of funny.
So he was pretty happy to get him. Is what it sounded like. So that's going to be the Colts 53-man roster for now, which will always have changes on week to week.
There's got to be a change because you got to make a roster spot for Muma.
Yeah,
one person cut. Does that mean that they did carry 11 defensive linemen? Is one of those guys going to be on the bubble, or are they just going to go 1-to-1 with one of their linebackers?
That's a good point. Normally at this point, it's position for position.
Yeah, you would think so.
You could also play a little bit fast and loose with your roster, and maybe you thought that Tim Smith might get claimed by someone else, so you didn't, release him. And so,
but if you're going to release him now, you're putting him out there anyway.
Right. I know, but maybe you figure that a team has made a move so you wanted to keep him through the first round of waivers, and maybe have a better chance of keeping him through the second round of waivers. And that could be Tim Smith, that could be anyone else out there who you would cut. Luke Tenuta, I don't know. Not that I don't think anyone would claim him. No disrespect.
When they sign a player or two, you can find a player to make the roster spot for. You just can. And that's not the disrespect to player. It's just that's the way they work. They don't make one move without knowing the repercussions elsewhere.
Always.
And if they find an offensive tackle, which we said is just you can't go to the store and find an offensive tackle. It would be position for position most likely.
Well, it's like Shagun Alube is on the roster right now, but he's been an adequate fill-in guy a few times for him, but he's a special teamer.
Yep. And that's what this guy will be.
And does that make him more valuable, or what are they doing with McGrone? So I guess we'll just have to see.
QB3 for another year. The Colts have 3 quarterbacks on the roster. Riley Leonard earns a spot on the 53-man.
He played well.
He did.
I mean, yes, he was playing against threes, but if you're going to play against threes,
play well
or dominate.
Dadgummit.
So I thought Isaiah Land did, and I thought Riley Leonard dominate, but Treadwell had 6 catches for 116, and what a beautiful post!
That was a great ball, great route, great ball for that touchdown in the final preseason game.
I wish what we could do, and the team won't do this. because they can't. But as long as Daniel Jones starts, could we have Riley Leonard at the podium in his place? Because he's such a good kid. He's open. And Daniel Jones is just not
the best interview, not the best soundbite.
And he's not a bad guy, but he's just sort of wired to not be that way.
Right.
I'll talk to Matt Conti and see if we can have our Riley Leonard stand in, but I don't think that's got any juice to it.
He is the emergency quarterback on game days with the NFL rules and how they work. But it would be certainly in an emergency situation because
he's not ready.
He's a developmental as they come. And right. I'm a Notre Dame fan for college. I follow them. And Riley Leonard at times was really great for the Irish, but especially early in the season, passing game just kind of wasn't there. And new team, new players, that some of that had to do with it too. But he's got some development that he needs to do in working on his passing game.
Right.
But he can also run a little bit. He's kind of an amalgamation. Really, this is a dumb comparison, but it's kind of an amalgamation between Anthony Richardson Sr. and Daniel Jones because he's got the size, he's got some athleticism to him, but it's not that above board athleticism that you get from Richardson. But he still needs to work a little bit more on his deeper throws and his long ball.
He went to both Duke and a blue blood college program in Florida or Notre Dame. He can run a little bit. He can throw a little bit. He was a longtime starter in college at a couple of different institutions.
He started, 37 games.
Yeah.
He started in college between Duke and Notre Dame.
And he's been able to learn, and I think quarterbacks do this, but remember he said that when he was at Duke, he was always getting texts from Daniel Jones, a Duke guy.
Yep.
And then the last year or two, he's been smoozing up to Phillip Rivers.
Yep.
In Georgia, where are they at?
Alabama? I believe or one of those. Ask our Chris Hagan; he would know which southern state it is.
But because they live like 10 minutes apart.
Yeah.
And so I get the impression Riley Leonard is a guy who tries to sponge as much as he can, and he retains it.
What a tangled web we weave. The one thing I'll close with Riley Leonard. If you're clamoring to actually see him, if you still are stalwart saying we got to see what Riley Leonard can do, who cares about Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson? We know their ceiling. What's Riley Leonard's ceiling? I think there's no more that should be said other than when we spoke to Riley leading up to his start in the third preseason game, he explained some of his development here, saying, I've never thought about how I grip the football or how I've thrown the football. I've just gone out and done it. That's a big thing. Sure, you have a ton of natural talent to be able to do what you did. You can get through college, go to Notre Dame, lead a team to a college football national championship game. But in the NFL, you need to think a little bit about how you hold the football.
I used to grip the smooth side,
how you hold the football.
Well, then he said he learned from Daniel Jones to wear your wristband a little higher up because the sweat pools higher up on your arm.
Exactly.
So it's little things.
So, but all those little things. Maybe Riley Leonard is the quarterback of the future here in Indianapolis.
6-round picks. Some of them have hit before.
One or two of them.
But and I know that there are some podcast viewers who've really big fans of Riley Leonard. They're very excited about him. Of course, you get a lot of crossover between Notre Dame football and the Colts, being an Indiana sports fan, that sort of thing. So, I'm interested in it. We'll see how it goes. You don't want to see Riley Leonard in a football game this year for the Colts. That would be a bad thing, probably for the franchise, especially early in the season.
As long as there is no mandate to have Riley Leonard QB1.
I don't believe we can have one of those. Although I guess
technically you can.
Yeah, I guess we could.
You never know. But probably not going to happen with the team this year.
Yeah, but a couple of guys in the newsroom were like, isn't this Chad Kelly all over again? Or Sam Ellinger? And like, well,
exactly.
It kind of is.
Pretty much.
Jared Lorenzen.
Yep. All of
back in the day. All right.
The hefty lefty.
Pick a quarter, the late great Jared Lorenzen.
We do appreciate you watching and listening to the Colts Blue Zone podcast. You can watch us on Fox 59 now, our CTV app, on Apple TV, Roku, let me think, Samsung TV on models 2023 and newer. And
Fire.
Did I say Fire? Yes, Amazon Fire is what it's all available on right now. Of course, YouTube also an option for you as well. And wherever you get your podcasts, we do encourage you to subscribe, get us downloaded to your podcast listening device as soon as we drop every week, which will probably be Thursdays for this podcast during the regular season.
We'll have to see how the Colts do their media deals.
Exactly. Exactly. So I just want to make sure you all are up to date on what's to come this year. Matt Adams is at Statomatty. Mike Chappell is at mchappell51. I'm Dave Griffiths at DaveG_sports. We'll see you next week on the Colts Blue Zone Podcast.